8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, good evening, everybody out there in Buccaneer land. This is Matt coming to you live from the Buck Wild Show here in sunny Oklahoma. Draft day 2022. I don't know how many of you are out there. Some of you might just have burnout from all this good time we've been having for the last 3 days. But in case you're living under a rock, starting last Thursday, we started our annual draft project for the Buccaneers, and we were 27th pick overall in the first round to start things off. I went to the local wings house, ran up a big tab, got to 26, and then we had to wait till tomorrow. So for all you folks that are out there that were thinking we were going to do something on the day one, you were sadly mistaken. We did what I thought we were going to do, which was we traded back to the second day. And that's when it all started on Saturday. So really, I guess the guys from Tampa, the folks that went to Vegas, they just wanted to catch a buffet before it got too late. So they went ahead and traded out from 27 to 33rd. Which in the big picture is not really that big of a difference, but it does matter to the general manager and the way contracts are structured and that kind of thing. So in my eyes, it was smarter to do that than it was to pick 27. This draft had nobody really, what's the polite way to say it? It just didn't excite anybody. There wasn't anything in there that was great. There wasn't anything in there that was terrible. But what it did do was it created a mess. There was an awful lot of trades in the first day. People were moving up and down the board. New England was the most notorious. They moved from wherever they were at to midway up in the first round to get a player that, according to the Los Angeles Rams, was a player that should have been slotted for the 100th pick or somewhere in that area. And he came out in the early 20s. So that was kind of interesting to see that gamesmanship going on between the cocky guys in LA and the old grumpy man from New England, old Bill Belichick, who knows more than anybody. So that was the day one highlight to me. I thought that was hilarious. And then we go to day two. We opened up the store with the 33rd pick. We were the first guys. And we picked a guy that, here he is, Logan Hall. Defensive end. And you're saying to yourself, why do we need a defensive end? Well, JPP took off to Mexico and said, see you later, Tampa. What does that mean? He's leaving Tampa to go on vacation, or he's leaving Tampa forever? Bye-bye, see you later, no more. So we need to start working on that kind of stuff. So we got Logan Hall, who was, by all accounts, a very good pick for us. At 33, he could have gone in the first round. Some people say I read an article that said it was an A++ pick because he should have gone in the first round and he got dropped down to the second. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not the kind of guy that sits there and goes through all this crap every single year and picks 25, 30 picks just to mock things up. Mom taught me that you're not supposed to mock people, so I don't. And Buck Skull, I saw you in the lobby. You didn't give me much time to get to you. You kind of blinked right back out again. So if you want to link up and try again, go right ahead. We do have the link in the comments section for anybody who wants to join the conversation. It's this one that says StreamYard and a bunch of other stuff after that. Basically, you click on it. You can come in. You don't have to be on the air live. You can use an avatar that are provided, or you can come on your camera if you want to do that. It's totally up to you one way or the other. I just don't put my phone number out there for the world to have. So if you want to come on the show, Buck Skull came back. we'll go ahead and bring him in here and see what he's got to say. I know he was active yesterday in the Bucs Report live coverage that we had with Johnny Dean and his crew. So just 1 second here. Let me get this all working. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
All right, you're good, man. Got the glasses on, huh?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. What's up?
What you got on your mind, man?
And a lot of people is upset about some of the picks we got. We're going to start with the running back, the punter, tight end. A lot of people, Bucs fans, are upset about those picks.
Well, I don't know why they would be. I mean, we don't have any real holes on this team. We lost we lost Marpet. He retired, and we replaced him with a 5-star replacement from free agency like a minute later. We have 2 backups to his position that were more than serviceable last year when people were injured, that are in camp and already in the locker room.
Why we not drafting the best players available? We could have had James Cook. We could have had Ball, Bryce Hall. We could have had him.
Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask Todd Bowles that. I really don't know. I think what they did was smart. They started out with defensive end, which was a glaring problem because they have to
Not
get.
Ryan. We passed on Ryan.
Okay, who's Ryan? You're going to have to. Who are you talking about?
Riot, when the Packers got him, he was a steal. Riot.
What was his position?
Same as Logan Hall. Same position.
Well, so that's like you go into a bar and meeting girls. Some guys say the girl you're looking at is ugly and you think she's gorgeous. It's just a question of how you grade people, right? So Logan Hall, according to Bleacher Report, was an A++ pick for us to get a 33. So some people look at him one way, some people look at him the other way. Frankly, I think Jason and the scouting department with the Buccaneers have hit on every single year that they've been here. They've done well. So I'm not going to second guess them. They had a reason that they wanted him.
Only 1 year didn't do good. Only 1 year.
Only 1 year. What year was that? Tristan Wirth? Or
no, Robert Aguayo, the whole draft class. The whole draft class was bad.
Well, you're not going to hit 100%, but Robert Aguayo was supposed to be good. He's a head case, and he failed 3 different teams. So that wasn't the Bucs coming up bad on that. The guy was the #1 kicker in the NCAA.
Let's talk about this corner. This corner is elite today. The corner we drafted, he's elite. He was a home run steal.
Zyon?
Yes, he's a steal.
Yeah. Well, then why you say the draft is bad?
Some people say I'm reading the Bucs fans. This crazy Bucs fans here.
A lot of people put out comments just to put out comments to see people react to it. A lot of people said we should have kept Jameis Winston too. So, what are you going to do? We got Logan Hall right off the bat. That was a good pick. The second guy we got, Luke Goedeke.
I heard he's a 5-star
guard.
I heard he was like a 5-star.
Goedeke? Yeah. Brian Jensen and him are the same kid. They big mouths, lots of attitude, lots of get in your face, not going to take a lot of junk. That's the kind of person you need.
I heard with Rachaad White compared to Le'Veon Bell. This guy is good. A home run pick. This running back we got.
White from Arizona? Yes. The running back?
15 touchdowns last year. I think it was 20 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. Something like that. Crazy ridiculous numbers last season.
Yeah, he had. Let me look that up real quick. I had that up here. He had an average of 6. Let me get the screen a little bigger for my blind eyes. 6.5 yards per carry with 48 receptions is the quick stat on Rachaad White. He's not supposed to take over for Liddy. He's just going to spell him. So
we never know. We never know, man. We don't know what's happening in training camp, OTAs, and preseason. We never know about this kid.
You never know, but those top 3 guys were our first round. That was the second round picks, the ones that you just talked about. Logan Hall, Luke Goedeke, and Rachaad White. They
all starters. They're starters. All 3 of them starters.
Well, I don't know if they're going to be starters, but they're going to be in the mix within the next year or two. They'll be starters because the openings that they're there for. The offensive tackle is supposed to take over for Ndamukong Suh. Suh is probably coming back. So Luke Goedeke is probably not going to start, but he'll probably get some time in this year. Rachaad White's not going to take Lenny Fournette's position, but he's going to benefit.
What does it mean for Keyshawn? What does this mean for Keyshawn Vaughn now? What does this mean?
I guess he's going to have to step up his game a little bit, huh? I mean, that's what competition's all about. You put the best players on the field and the ones that are willing to produce. Vaughn is a good player.
Yes.
Rachaad White can't just come in and automatically assume he's going to be number 2, but you can expect him to be somebody that we keep past the point that we keep Leonard Fournette and we keep Keyshawn, Vaughn.
I really
will
want to
probably be here for a couple of years.
I really want to talk about this punter and kicker, though, for real. That punter is off the chain. Kicker's off the chain.
What happened there in the 3rd round is we got to a point where we didn't really need anything. We were picking people. And Pinion wasn't the best punter in the league last year. So you need to have competition. We had the ability to pick one of the better punters in the league in the NCAA last year and bring him in.
I think he's out in about the next week or 2. I heard he's out. He's out of here. Save $3 million in cap space. He's out of here.
Yeah, he's got like $2.5 million salary that we don't need to keep necessarily. That's one of the reasons they picked.
Yeah, that money can go towards maybe a sale or towards Gronk. There's that money.
We have $10 million sitting there waiting for Gronk and Suh to sign. That's what Tom Brady cleared up.
That's why we
got money.
That's why we traded the first round pick, because the first round pick, he took a lot of money. The first round pick.
Right. They're guaranteed a certain amount of money, and they're guaranteed a 5th-year option in their contract where a second round pick doesn't have that. So I want to talk about this corner, though. For this corner is a lockdown corner. He's a shotgun corner. He's a man corner, just like Ramsey. He's 6'3". 6'3". Oh my God. Yeah, we don't have a lot of tall ones.
Hey, I think someone from Mike, he might have some competition, man. And Dane, one of those 2 out the door.
I wouldn't say they're out the door, but
this guy's Ramsey.
He's rangy, but he's a rookie. You're not just going to come in here and take over the place. And he wasn't exactly where did we get him?
It's 6th round. 5th round, sir. It was a steal. Oh, he's predicted round 3, sir. He's predicted round 3 in this year's draft. Projected.
Right. And this year's draft was all jacked up. They had quarterbacks that were supposed to go in the 1st and 2nd round that didn't go until the 5th or 6th round. They had all kinds of stuff going on. This draft is so unpredictable, it's stupid. But
hey man, but guys,
benefit.
I think this guy could be the next Ramsey. That's what people compare him to. Ramsey. I'm hearing his comments. Ramsey. He's a man corner.
It's possible. It's possible. He's a rookie. We'll have to see what he does.
I'm reading all the people saying give him a 10, 5 stars. Everyone's giving, man. I think the Bucs knew about this kid.
Well, yeah, they know about him. The Bucs know what they're doing. They've got one of the best scouting departments in the league, as far as I'm concerned. They know what they're looking at, and they know what they need. They know what they don't need. They know what they don't need to waste their time on.
That's how fast is a 4.3? 95 speed, 96 speed, 4.3. He went 4.3,
but in a 40-yard dash, you still have to cover the routes. You still have to cover the cuts. You have to cover all of that.
You can't do it. He's a man corner. He's good for Todd Bowles' defense. This is about to be good.
Yeah, he should be. I don't think Todd Bowles picks bad players. He's one of the best defensive minds in the league.
I like the linebacker we drafted from LSU today. Was the 7th round. He's not bad. He's not bad at all.
The 7th round pick and Andre Anthony.
Yeah. The punter
for
was
a 7th round pick. He's a good player. He's from LSU, so that's got to give him something. But there's a reason he was available at the 7th round. I mean, let's be honest. He came this close to being an unsigned free agent, right? That close. So we'll just have to see what we get with that. But we did very well.
Because do you think this punter? I really think this punter is about to be the starter. He's out of here.
The punter.
Because this punter from Georgia is SEC champion. Georgia's champion.
He's from Georgia. They had a real good team. He didn't get stressed a lot. So we'll have to see what happens. That's what was wrong with Robert Aguayo. You know why Robert Aguayo was so bad when he got here is he went through 3 years of being with the Florida State team that was national championship caliber. He never had to work. So his statistics were kind of slanted. So you never know until they get him in camp and make him start working under pressure how good they are.
His punter could average 58 yards or something like that. His punter is
something like that. And he's also a place kicker, so he can kick off. So
I heard he can kick from the 5 to 10. It's good if he kick it that far. I heard it's like I think it's like 20, 30 for 30. A crazy stat. He can punt so hard.
Yeah, it's possible. Like I said, we got a whole bunch of people here that have potential, and everybody comes out of the draft with potential. But so the USFL is full of players that had potential.
You like any other players we drafted undrafted free agents we got? You like any of those choices we got?
What choices do we have? They don't come out until Monday.
We would have picked them up already. We would have got them today, sir, after the draft, sir.
Well, I don't look at it until Monday because right now all they're doing is cleaning up the lobby. They're going home. They're going to regroup, look at whatever they got in the draft. Then they're going to start looking at the free agents that are available. They're going to start looking at the unsigned, undrafted people that are available and seeing who they can bring in. I think we start camp in June. We might start before that. But mandatory camp starts the first week of June, I believe it is. So they got a little time to work all that stuff out. We still got to work on Sue's contract. We got to see what Gronk's going to do. You got to see what JPP is going to do. All of this stuff's got to come into focus here in the next week to 10 days.
I think JPP is gone because we got someone else who got his number now. The kid we drafted.
Well, I wouldn't say. You're talking about JPP's got 2 rings. He's a Pro Bowler, and he's been around the league forever, and he's always been a Pro Bowler versus a guy who just got drafted. I mean, you got to be realistic here a little bit, right? A little bit. So, I mean, hold your water just a bit. I'm glad you're excited, but none of these guys have done anything yet except get picked.
I heard he got number 90, though. Logan Hall. Yeah, Logan Hall. He got number 90, according to the jersey.
Who told you that?
The internet, sir.
On the internet?
The internet. Yes, sir.
Well, I guess he can buy the 90 if he wants it, if it's available. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not willing to trade out all of the players that we had on the team last year. Are not going to step down just because we drafted some players. That's not going to happen. But
the competition now.
Yeah, they're going to have competition.
We traded the 4th round pick next year's 4th round pick. Next year it's not gone. It's gone to I think it's gone to Jacksonville because we got the steal from the quarterback. There we go. I might try a 4th round pick for next year.
Yeah, we've got plenty of picks. We're not worried too much about all that. That's one thing that Jason Light does. We're stacked up. We also don't have a lot of needs. So all of these things that they
look at this. That means drafted a corner because maybe you think they're going to compare them because we would afford able to sign Dan and Bunty next year, both of them. Plus, we got a lot of other people we're going to resign next season too. Is that going to be hard to do? You think?
To sign the players we need to play, that we need to get right now. I'm not sure what you're asking me. Are you saying can we sign the free agents that we need to sign and get all our draft picks in? Is that what you're asking?
I wonder, do you think someone for Bunty and Dane will be here for another year or two? Or do you think this might be the last year in Tampa? Because they're free agents next year. Dane
Who are you talking about?
The cornerbacks we have. Sean Murphy Bunting and Dane.
Sean Murphy Bunting and Jamal Dean?
Yeah. Is that why maybe we drafted a corner?
We drafted a corner because we need corners. You need a bunch of them.
What I'm saying, we still have the other corners we had last season still.
Yeah, we do. But every year you go through competition in the training camp, and then you put people on the practice squad, and then you've got players that are going to get hurt, and then you're going to have free agents you're going to need to sign in the middle of the year, like we did with Richard Sherman and all that other stuff. All kinds of things that go on between now and next year.
Hey, is there a chance? I'm hearing buzz about the Odell Beckham thing. I heard Tom Brady like Antonio Brown post on Twitter. I think he loved it or something like that. Tom Brady comment on Odell Beckham post on Twitter.
We don't need Odell Beckham.
A couple days ago, I was wondering if you know about that. Tom Brady comment on his post. Does that mean anything?
Well, I don't know what he said, and I don't know about the post you're talking about because I really don't pay attention to that stuff this time of year. This time of year, there's so much junk on the internet; it's ridiculous. So it'll just pollute your brain if you try to accept everything as fact. It's not true.
Yes,
we don't need
drama.
We don't need a new Antonio Brown. We certainly don't need Odell Beckham. There is no way in the world that we're going to go from Antonio Brown's mess to Odell Beckham. That's stupid.
Odell Beckham not a troublemaker?
Yes, he is. He's a fruitcake. He apologized to a kicking net because he knocked it over one week. And he made a big stinking deal about that. Didn't you remember that a couple of years ago?
Oh, I forgot about that.
He got pissed off and kicked the kicking net and bent it all to pieces. And the next week he came out on the sideline and he gave it a kiss and all. It was just stupid. Just stupid.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, I'll let you go because somebody else might want to get on.
All right, man. Well, have a good night.
Have a good night.
I'll see you again next week.
If Iron Cannons raise your day and go Bucs.
There you go. Go Bucs. Have a good night, man. So there you go. That's Buck Skull. He's always interesting. Guy's got a lot of rapid fire questions. You got to stay on your toes with that guy. But he's excited, and I don't blame him for that. But I do caution people about getting overly excited about things you read on the internet right now and who's taking what number and if we like a player or not and all this other stuff. Because you have to realize there's a whole bunch of stuff that's got to go on between now and then before we even get started. So just kind of take it with a grain of salt and let it go. So I'm going to go through a couple of these comments here. Don't have a whole lot. I think people are probably a little burned out on the whole draft weekend so far. It's been an awful lot to absorb, but that's part of it. So let's see what we got here. We got Ben Parrish. What about the 4th round punter? Well, we just talked about that. I think there's a reason. It has to do with salary is one thing, and they also want to put competition in camp. You don't pay anybody till we get started in the first of the year anyway, so you can draft all you want. And the Bucs are in a luxury position where they don't have a need to where they have to really get down and dirty like when we had Jameis. We needed a quarterback. We don't need a quarterback. We don't need a whole lot of players. We can make do with what we've got. We made do with most of what we got right now last year when everybody got injured, and we did just fine. We made it to the playoffs. We made it all the way down the road, and we almost got to the Super Bowl. So don't put a lot of salt into the idea that we need to get a whole bunch of players because we drafted them, we're going to sign them necessarily. That's not the way we're working right now. Ben also said, "What's up, Matt?" I don't know if he was on the air last week. Maybe you guys were with me. But last week we had just gotten started. We had about 15 minutes of the show going on, and the tornado sirens went off across the street from my house. And for the next hour and a half, we had tornadoes ducking and diving all around here, and it was pretty scary night. So I'm pleased to say we got through it without much trouble. We had a couple of trees come down, but everybody's alive and well, and everybody's got a house to live in, and nobody's, got blue tarps on their roof or anything like that. So it could have been a lot worse, but springtime in Oklahoma is never something you have to take it serious, because at any second something can happen. Okay, enough about me. Let's go to the next comment here. I think the linebacker Dean would have been a great pickup. Well, I don't know that we have a lot of room for linebackers right now. I just don't think we're in a situation where that's a need. Right at the moment, we needed a tight end in case Gronkowski doesn't come back. We needed to start working on the defensive line because we've got some age out there and people are in situations where they may or may not come back. And it's still up in the air. So what our needs were, we took care of. What our wants were, we didn't bother with. And that's because I think they're pretty confident they're going to get most of everybody back that they need to. Christopher Cole with Luke G is a beast. I think you're probably right. Everything I read about the guy, he's supposed to be an animal. He looks like he's a big boy. He's 300 and something pounds. And I think he's going to be a great addition. I think that was one of the first two picks were the two that made most sense to me, and they were the two that made the most impact to me. Everything that came after that is kind of like adding to the pile for camp competition, regardless of what people might think. Rachaad White may stick, but everybody was high on Rojo until he got here. So you never really know what you're going to get until they get into camp and you see what you got. James Wood, draft's not an exact science. Absolutely, that is truth. It's like I was kind of alluding to Bucs Skull earlier. You can check any Saturday night at any bar in town, and you'll see 3 or 4 guys just oogling over some girl, and 2 or 3 guys talking about, what do you see in that? She looks like a horse. And that's just the way people are. Some people love it. Other people say, I don't agree. So it's just a question of how you grade people. And of that grade, how much of it is actually true? Because you can't tell the heart of a player until he starts getting paid and he has to perform. Can't tell you how many players we got, free agents and stuff have come through Tampa, got a huge paycheck, they got here, and then they turned into nothing. Chris Baker, for instance, that did absolutely nothing but got a check. And that's the heart and caliber of a player. Drafted players are no different. They get out of college, they have maturity issues, they don't know what it's like to be away from home. The whole world changes when you go from playing a sport to playing a profession. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different expectation. The speed of the game is different in all aspects. And that's why some people come in and just burn out, and other ones succeed very well. And other ones, like Tom Brady, just over exceed and overproduce and turn into something great. But you never know until you get here. We could have a new punter and kicker next season. I agree with you, Christopher. I think they got this guy for a reason. Unlike Ray Kennedy, one of my guys here at Bucs Report, I'm not 100% sold on Suckup. I don't like the guy. He seems to take it seems like for a guy who gets paid to be a kicker and he's got a history, he seems to have situations where he just misses because he's not concentrating or just doesn't care or whatever. And it cost us a couple of games last year, whether you want to admit it or not. And I know nobody's exactly perfect as kickers go, but there's nothing different between the shape of the goalpost when we had Steve Christie here, and we had Donald Igwe here, and we had Martin Gramatica. Those guys weren't kicking at any different goalposts than some of the guys we've had here since, like Matt Gay, who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. it's just weird. It's just weird. And kickers are strange. So we'll have to see. They've signed a lot of undrafted free agents already. Well, I haven't caught that yet, and I've been busy doing other things that have to do with the show. But that's possible, Christopher. I would expect Monday and Tuesday will be pretty busy at One Buck Place about getting those guys in here that they want to have undrafted free agents. They want to get them tried out and give them the opportunity to participate in camp. So that's coming. I just think, you know, they haven't gotten all the stage taken down from the place in Vegas yet. And we're already working on talking about jersey numbers and other players coming in here and cutting other guys that are already on the roster. I just think it's a little early. Let's see here. Gabriel Leverett, suck up is golden. Yeah, that's questionable. What was the difference in the game we lost last year in the playoffs that sent us home? I think it was a field goal. How many field goals did Suck Up miss in that game? Oh, one. There you go. That's the answer. That's the answer right there. That's the method to the science. He should have been able to hit it. He didn't. We could have used it, and we didn't have it, and we got all the way to tied and ended up in overtime. If he'd have hit the thing on the three he missed, the one you miss is the one that matters, right? If you miss in the Super Bowl, you're Scott Norwood for the rest of your life. Think about that. Or if you do something really stupid, you could be like Gyro Yepremian running around on a highlight reel in a Buck uniform, trying to throw a pass off of his shoulder or some crap. It's just crazy. So we're not going to agree, man. He was great when he needed to be, but that's slanted statistic. We're scoring 30 points a game. If you can score 30 points a game, you don't really need a kicker theoretically. Most of the games, you're not going to need 30 points. We needed 30. We needed about 3 more in the playoffs that we didn't get, and that 3 more was hooked, as I recall. So you're getting paid to make one job. You got to kick the damn ball one time, kick it through the damn uprights. If they're going to put you in a situation where he's kicking 75 yards, that's a different deal. But if it's something from 40 yards or less, should never be an issue. Should never be. I don't care if it's Suck Up. I don't care who it is. Matt Gay. I don't care what kicker it is. What happened to Matt Gay between the time he was here in Tampa and the time he got to L.A.? I don't know. Matt Gay missed a field goal. Well, I don't care what he does, Fred. He's on the other team. He can miss them if he wants to. The point is, if he's going to miss one and we make the one that Suck Up made or missed, we win that game. If we both miss, we end up in overtime and we lose the game, right? So there's a lot of reasons for that game to go south on us, but we did make an awful lot of effort to get back, and it just irritates me that somebody like Suck Up, that's everybody's so high on, he had one job, just kick that damn ball through, and he missed it. Matt Gay's proven that he can't kick. He's just not the guy that you can lean on all the time. That's why he's not in Tampa anymore. The guy couldn't hit inside 40, but he could hit from 60. I don't understand how you do that. When you're kicking an extra point, Matt Gay couldn't hit it, but he could hit it from 57 yards away. Doesn't make any sense. Carl Hardy. The life of a kicker is either hero or zero. That's true, and you're only as good as the last one you missed. And I was in sales my whole life, so you know I know what that's about. You're only as good as today. What you did last week doesn't matter because that's last week's commission check. We don't care. How much did you earn this week? That's the way life is. That's the way kickers work, and that's what I expect out of them. And I don't think it's asking a guy too much to come in that doesn't have to play 35 snaps a game. He's only got to do 3 or 4, right? So just do what you're supposed to do. If you're put in a reasonable expectation where you're inside 40 yards, 40 to 45 yards, you should be able to hit that ball and kick it in. That's what you're getting paid for, especially if you're somebody who's a Pro Bowler or somebody who's been to the playoffs 1,000 times. Somebody like Suck Up who's got credentials shouldn't be missing the kind of stuff that he missed last year in the times that he did it. That's just me. I think you're right, Christopher Cole. I think you're right. He missed an extra point. The point was we put ourselves in a position where we were losing at halftime. We managed to turn that around every position except the kicker. And he's the one that had to do the least. So that's just how I look at it. Anyway, so we'll continue on from here. I was looking at the draft. I was going to go back over a couple more of these guys that we picked already. Like I said, our first pick of the second round, the 33rd position, was our first pick. Logan Hall, defensive end out of Houston. That, to me, I think was a good selection. Our second pick was also, let's see, get his name out here, Luke Goedeke. He's supposed to be a Brian Jensen kind of guy, supposed to have a lot of attitude. He, as far as I remember from the stat they put up, it looked like he was a huge kid. I think he was like 315 pounds or something like that, 6'3" or 4. And that got my attention. I'll take that all day long. I think for an offensive tackle or guard, because ESPN has him as a tackle or guard one way or the other. Other news sources call him an offensive tackle. I don't really know where he's going to fit. If he's a guard, he's in there for Ali Marpet. If he's a tackle, Donovan Smith might have some competition. Who knows? But I think he's a good selection either way you look at it. He's got a high upside to him. And I think we're going to be happy with that pick for many years down the road. Followed that by Rachaad White, a running back out of Arizona or Arizona State. And he did very well out there in the desert. He you know, for the Pac-10, I think it is, it's out there. He did very well, and he's got a high upside, but he's not Fournette. He's not going to be Fournette, and his purpose is to catch passes because Tom Brady likes to pass. He's not a great runner from what I read. He's too vertical. When he's running, he doesn't get behind his pads like he could or should a little better. But he's got an awful good resume for the time that he was in Arizona, and his college career was commendable. So we'll just see what we get. I don't think there's a Barry Sanders in this draft. So running backs nowadays, they're designed to be here for 3 years and be flushed and brought in somebody new from the draft the next year. So I don't get too excited about them anymore. When I was a kid, you used to look for somebody like Tony Dorsett, Barry Sanders, Eric Dickerson, and Herschel Walker, and your Earl Campbell types. They were workhorses. They don't do that anymore. They do a whole different kind of game. So running backs are kind of like mix and match. You can just slide them in and run them. It's no big deal. Outside of those three guys, we went to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. And we did pretty well. Our next pick after that was going to be this Cade Otton, I guess his name is, or Otton. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. He's a tight end. He's not a Aaron Hernandez type. He's more of a Cameron Brate type. He's going to be a good blocker, a reasonable pass catcher, and he's a big kid. And that's the kind of guy that we use our tight ends for that. We don't use them for a lot of passing unless you're Gronkowski. But with Gronkowski right now, you don't know whether he's coming back or not, so they're having to patch that hole. And if you look at the draft with a defensive end, an offensive tackle, a tight end, and a running back just to pad the position, you can see what we're doing here. We're backfilling for positions that may come open. And that's what we have the luxury in Tampa for a change to be able to do that we hadn't had necessarily 10 years ago. We were always, we need to find this guy. We need to find this guy. We're not in that position anymore. Now we're putting people in development positions where they can become great. We have the coaching staff to let them come in here and become great and fill in when necessary to give somebody a breather, or if somebody's injured, we've got comparable players that can come in and fill in for short term while they develop. Tampa has never been that team until the Arians era started. And it's so strange, having followed them from the 70s all the way to today. I can't remember a time when this was something we had the luxury of doing. I'm going to ask a guy who probably knows, because he's got a better history mind than I do. This is Mr. Tampa Bay Ray. You guys know him from his show that he does live there at Ferg's most nights. He's popped in. We're going to bring him on. How you doing, Tampa Bay Ray?
Good, brother Matt, but I can't. All I can see is Cade Otton you got on the screen there. Oh,
there you are.
Hey,
I'm doing things, man. I've got graphics. Look at that. Wow.
You're producing.
When you're planning on being by yourself, I don't want to look at myself all night. It's just not important.
Oh, so. Man, don't I know, Matt? I did it last week when I flipped the script and went over to radio. And as funny as it is, with this, we have this visual feedback. And then on radio, not only was I dealing with 8 local stations, but I had no idea when the commercial breaks were. And you talk about juggling on a tightrope 20 feet above. I felt like, I was in Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. But how you doing tonight, my friend? I'm
doing good, man. I got to be honest with you. I'm burned out of this weekend already. I mean, it started on Thursday night, and Thursday was boring because we didn't – Todd Bowles even said it wasn't that great of a night. We didn't do anything. So I was with him on that.
Right.
But we did what I thought we were going to do, which is strange. I was actually right. I guessed that we were going to trade back.
Thank you, Tabitha.
I'll have one. Send her one my way.
Tabitha, the manager here at the Irish 31. I'll tell you what, in Seminole, I was just telling him how great you are. You're so fortunate to have a place. She said, thank you. To have a place like this, Irish 31 here at the Seminole City Center. Just, I love the Irish 31 thing. It's pretty much an Irish pub in the neighborhood and what they're doing out here. And I love to be able to come down here. And people always are like, why are you always coming from live over there? And I'm like, it just feels like home, having grown up. My grandfather owned a few bars when I was a kid. It was Kennedy's Irish pub and tavern. But Matt, it's the Buccaneers in the 2022 draft. It seems like it went exactly as we thought it would as far as the positional needs, but yet it was satisfying. I mean, they still made some great decisions, still got some great players. And unlike in 2021, when Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, they said was a luxury pick, I think we've got, you address the fact that Ndamukong's not under contract and JPP was on a big old jet airliner. You address the fact that Bradley Pinion, as good of a punter as he is, he's fallen off a little in the past few years. And, you're not talking about the kicking position or special teams being a position that has to pay for, being in a cap strap. But these are things that good teams like the Buccaneers have to do. They have to address things like this. And I think they've done a heck of a job in 2022.
I couldn't agree with you more. They did exactly what we've never been able to do, which is, I was saying just before you came on, we're padding the backing. We're backfilling on the seawall to keep it up there.
Yes, sir.
And we've not been able to do that in 30 years. It's just crazy. And anybody that looks at this draft, like Buck Skull was talking about, oh, we blew it. We did this. We did that. We didn't get this guy. We didn't get that guy. Right. We got exactly who we wanted.
Exactly.
And we got them because we had the luxury to sit back and just wait. If we had gotten the 26th pick and the Jets hadn't taken that, I forget the guy's name, but the Jets took our guy.
Was it Trayvon Walker? Was that the defensive lineman?
Somebody Jones or something like that.
The defensive lineman, though, the interior defensive lineman. But but then instead they end up getting a guy at 33, and they were on the clock all day, and then they still got a little fatter in the middle there and got a couple extra draft picks, and I think that's exactly what Jason Light does.
Yeah, and he learned that in New England, and Bruce Arians has got that same mentality. We've got our superstars for another year or two. Right. So we've got 1 or 2 years to pad these guys up and get them going and bulk them up and get them on the field when we need them to. But they're not pressured to start tomorrow. It's the same thing with the Kyle Trask last year.
I was going to say that's exactly right. I love. When's the last time the Buccaneers have ever had ever been able to draft a quarterback in the top of the draft like they did Trask in 2021 in the second round and, bury the lead? Not only does he get to sit back and learn a very complex offensive system, if you will, that Byron Leftwich is still running here, but gets to do it behind the greatest of all time. And You know, I don't know how many of those good habits and stuff like that rubs off, but I mean, I would pose that any kind of leadership or any kind of things you could take away from playing behind a Tom Brady would serve you well in your stead as you continue to, or as you start your career off as a professional quarterback.
If you take advantage of what you got, you're getting a Harvard education for free.
Yes, you are.
He's getting paid to watch the greatest guy in the world do his thing. And, you know, whether you like Tom Brady or not, or if you think he's overhyped or whatever people might say about him, he came from 199 in the draft to being the GOAT. I don't care what you say. I didn't like him in New England, but I knew he was good. It's kind of like Aaron Rodgers. I watch Aaron Rodgers because I appreciate that he can come back at any time and you're never out of the game. Brett Favre was the same way. But I don't necessarily want him to be my quarterback, you know, because he's just – that's just who he is. But now, like Kyle Trask has got Logan Hall's behind on a defensive end. He's got JPP prospectively to be there, and whoever else that he's got to play behind. He's got one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL as a head coach, and all of these trainers and extra coaching staff that they got to key in on people and target their weaknesses and build them up. If you take advantage of what you've got at One Buck Place right now, well, what do they call it? Advent Health Center now?
One Buck Place, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, when it was One Buck Place, it was one trailer park place, right? It was a couple of double wides and a portable. So, I mean, you're looking at a world-class organization who's got a world-class idea now. The Glazers like being winners. They've decided that's what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to structure it, and they've got everything in place. And if you're lucky enough to come to this team versus going to, say, like a Jaguars or Texans, one of those kind of places where you're trapped for life, Detroit, you know, you got to count your blessings and take advantage of it.
Well, Matt, not only that, you get the running back out of Arizona State. You look at his history, and you're like, oh wow. Not only did he lead the team in running, but he also led the team in receptions, right? And so you're talking about a James White or a Giovanni Bernard or a receiving running back out of the backfield. And then the Buccaneers in the 4th round today, they get a tight end, and you look at the tight end's history, and you see, oh wow, he's actually a stronger blocker than he is a receiver, but does have the ability to create separation. And you start going, wow, it sounds like we got this. It sounds like a Gronkowski. And, of course, we still don't know what Gronkowski's plans are for 2022. And Tom Brady clears the space with that little whatever he did with the magic with his contract. Didn't add another year, but opened up $9 million. But I honestly, at this point, Matt, I'll ask you, if you asked me today, and my own personal opinion, if I had to think that Gronk is back, I want to say 50-50, but I almost want to say 40-60. It seems like with the back issues he had and with some, maybe, you know, Gronk's deciding now is the time for him to walk away while he can still walk away. Now, do I want to see him back again? Would I like to see him get another year with a Cam Brayton and a rookie tight end and have that depth and have that the cohesiveness with him and Tom Brady? Yeah, but if not, the Buccaneers again in a 2022 draft with a tight end, with a nose tackle or a defensive lineman, with an offensive guard, with a running back, and then even with a punter, they're addressing needs. And, you know, I guess you could say any team, any general manager can just look at their team and address needs. But I like the fact that the Buccaneers are addressing needs with players that not only are or happen to fit the mold of what they needed, but are also quite good at what they're doing as far as we're getting good players. And that, I think that right now, you asked me the Buccaneers overall, and I'm not grading them against the rest of the league because it'd probably be graded on the curve. But I'm going to say, of course, you don't know for 3 or 4 years exactly how solid, but I'm going to say the Buccaneers get at least a B+, if not an A- on this draft, just for the fact that they filled actual needs that this team needs to not rebuild, but to continue reloading and moving on in 2022.
And I agree with you 100%. I think that if anybody gives them anything less than a B, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just, you know, the 6th, 7th rounders are not really necessarily expected to do anything. So you kind of put them in just because they had them. They'll end up on the USFL next year or whatever. But like you said, we went down the list and you could just look at the position, not the player, but the position. They were doing something on purpose every single round.
Everyone.
And every single one of them was just close enough to the guy that they might be replacing that they've got all the skills that they're going to lose, or close enough to where they can make that work. And you can't do it any better than that. And
what is it with the Washington Huskies? I mean, first of all, you got Vita Vea, right? Then you got Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Then you bring the tight end in. I loved it. I love what Joe Tryon-Shoyinka posts out there. He says, "You're my dog. Let's get going." And of course, the two of them played against each other because as a defensive end, and I'm sure that this tight end was blocking him at the University of Washington. But the Buccaneers are really starting to that, and I would pose that that's not a bad thing to have a relationship with a program like the University of Washington Huskies, because so far so good as far as the players the Buccaneers are getting out of there. Let's not talk about Safarian Jenkins. That was something 100 years ago, and we're not going to apply that.
You don't have a way to. You can't draft for a weakness like he had, though. I mean, you got to give the guy had a problem,
right?
And he had skills, but he had a problem. And same thing with Johnny Manziel. And there was a guy that several years ago that was a quarterback. I can't remember his name all of a sudden, but he had drinking problems, and that's a hard thing to beat.
Jamarcus Russell.
Well, him, and it was Collins, wasn't it? The guy who played Carolina.
Oh, Kerry Collins?
Yeah. Was it Chris
Collinsworth? I'm just throwing names out here. I'm just messing with you.
I can see him, but I can't remember his name, and
I got
I'm
you.
old. Anyway,
Yeah,
the point I'm trying to make is you can't. It's like Robert Aguayo. He went all the way through college, and everybody thought he was a golden toad.
Right.
He got under pressure, and his best friend became Jim Beam. It just doesn't work, and you can't see that coming. And then you can try to work with a guy and try to give him everything like we did with Arguello. We gave him all kinds of help.
All right.
That. And it's a hard thing to beat. So
and let's go ahead.
Austin Safarian Jenkins that much of a – I'm not kicking him around so much because, unfortunately, I've been around people that have that condition, I guess is a good way to put it. And it's like I'm trying to quit smoking. I still buy them. I don't smoke a carton a week all of a sudden. I'm doing things to try to prevent that,
baby steps.
But
I'll tell you what,
in a way.
Going back to Roberto Aguayo, some people posed at the time, well, Jason Light trades up into the second round. And the thing is that the Buccaneers needed a kicker. They needed to address that. Was a bugaboo for 10 years with this team. Yeah. Was it extreme? Yeah, but Roberto Aguayo and the body of work he brings in from Florida State told you that you were going to get a consistent kicker. I don't think it was the pressure. I just think, like you said, he kept him here in the state. He came home. The kid had a heart of gold. You still haven't seen him catch on anywhere else because he was never able to, get that back. But the thing is, we see this every year, and this year's been no different. Is that you got all these players and you got the pomp and circumstance and everybody gets excited. And sure, 75% of them are going to wash out in a few years and you're going to look back and go, what was I thinking? But, I think the fun for me in the draft is as you get a year or two down the road, as you go back and you look at the second, the third and the fourth rounder. And you go and look at a Chris Godwin that you find in the third or second. You go and find, a Levante David who you found in the second, wasn't a big top of the draft guy. And that's why, as much as we like to, I kind of took a back seat to the draft this weekend. It's like, let it happen. They're having a good time. I wanted to see the Bucs address those needs. But, at the end of the day, really, this year's draft becomes real, applicable 2 years from now when we see the pieces starting to fall into place or not. So.
Right. And anybody that thinks they're going to come in tomorrow and start and kick somebody off the roster, I just don't think that's a realistic expectation, especially this year's draft. I just overall, from one all the way down to the end, it just there wasn't anybody in there that makes me think they're going to be perennial Hall of Famers just because they were in the draft and they got
right.
College.
The defensive lineman, and again, he's an interior guy who can bounce outside. So there's your versatility along that defensive line. I think you have Nunez Roches. I think you're still going to have Will Golston, where the Buccaneers are still in a position where we're not pressing this kid into duty. I think Joe Tryon-Shoyinka takes on a larger role this year, and that's why you see a JPP no longer probably going to be on this Buccaneer squad. I think Ndamukong Suh, whether it be and this is just my own personal opinion, whether it be his own decision now to spend a little more time with that beautiful wife and his two twins of his, he's having so much fun. I think he wants to play here, but I think at the same time that the Buccaneers are, you're looking at the bottom line and you're looking at, it's a business, it's a business at the end of the day. And so you got that depth at the interior defensive line. And And I'm not saying I don't want to see Ndamukong and Suh wearing the Panthers colors or the Saints colors for Dennis Allen or playing for the Atlanta Falcons in 2022. But at the same time, you start to wonder, unless that cat's going to sign a friendly deal, and it's not so much that he's diminished, his abilities have diminished, but it comes a time when a team you got to let the young guys break out, like with the Rays when they traded away Austin Meadows to make room for Lowe on this team. And, sometimes, you're going to let a player go that may still have a few miles left on the tires, but, you got to do it for the good of the team and in the future as well as the present.
Well, to be fair, though, Suh was drafted before I was married, and my kids are coming out of high school now. So he's been in the league a while.
Couple years. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been here a bit. And I think if he's coming back, he'll come back to Tampa. And I'm not sure he's done. I'm not sure he's going to come back at all.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when Ole Marpet said, I'd rather get a doctorate than, my knees and CTE. I can understand the decision. And Ndamukong Suh can, if you listen to him talk, that is a smart man. He thinks. He thinks. So he's planning down the road. He's not one of these guys. There was some guys drafted in the first round, and I was joking with Keith on the messenger last night, where he got a degree in public speaking because all he could say is, "Well, I'm glad, I'm blessed," and that's all the conversation he could have with an interview. It's pitiful to me when you're coming out of a 5-star college and you can't do a 30-second interview without, we know what you mean. That's why you're talking.
Well, and I will say though, Matt, this is the most exciting time of their lives, and you're catching them, 5 minutes after they someone put it so succinctly today. These guys, they knew they were going to get drafted. They knew that they were going to continue playing in the sport of football at the National Football League level, but they didn't know where, what state they're going to be in or what division they're going to be in, so all that all of a sudden comes flooding forward. And but no, I agree. It's a shame that some of these players, they just haven't had a chance maybe they haven't had a chance to let it wash over them and all. But you should be able to at least, and that's why, you get to the National Football League and you start doing guest spots on the Bucs Report with our gang here, because we'll bring you on and we'll nurse you along and we'll get your public speaking on point, and we'll continue to help you get better in that regard as well.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm blessed.
I'm blessed. So Matt, let me ask you this though. So, you talked about it. You make it up for last night. Did you catch any of that Bandits game today? Because I know we're here on the Bucs Report, but that was a good game. That was a good. It looked like that
last week, and I was
terribly
upset. I don't know.
Last week was not good.
I couldn't focus on the game last week. So there was some stuff going on, and I look up and I'm like, God, man, they got the worst loss in the history of the USFL in its second week or whatever it was. But this week they turned around and did something that they came back on the team. Shut
them down. Had to turn over.
I like that.
And then I love it. We saw it again. I'm not sure who the coach is for the Houston Gamblers, but he tries to ice the kicker, and the kicker hikes the ball and he calls a timeout. He still proceeds with the kick, and it's wide right. And then, so he goes and lets him kick that 41-yarder again. And that time it's right through the uprights. And, these coaches, there's coaches that you've seen it. There's certain coaches that'll purposely wait to the very last, and ice. And, I get it. Whatever it takes to, try to give your team the best chance to win. But I love it when it comes back and burns the coaches. Now, did he let up a little bit once the timeout was called? Probably. It probably wasn't his best kick, but good game today. Of course, the Rays lost today, but with the draft this weekend, next thing we have to look forward to is the rookie camps and the OTAs and the humidity's coming in.
You're there local, so you probably know better than I do. I saw a pop up where I think their mandatory camp starts in June, first week of June. Don't they have the new head coach? Involuntary or voluntary?
Well, you get that extra week, right? You get that week-long start. Now, the OTAs are usually in mid-March or mid-May, So usually a couple of weeks after the draft, you'll have the rookies will come in here, and it's kind of like that get-to-know-you period. You're going to come in there, and they're going to give them the old speech. Now that you got money, you got to watch out, You know, you don't want to win a Super Bowl. You don't want to win a Super Bowl and drive off in a Hyundai Speech. And you're going to have the players come in here. And then, you know, Tom, even, you know, this season we've saw it too. Even Tom hasn't been here. He was here for Bruce Arians' you know, retirement thing. But Tom's been off, and he's going to have that golf match coming up in June. Gronk, of course, is still out there partying in Vegas. And it's not just the inmates are running the asylum and everybody's, you know, nobody's in for 2022. The thing is I love this. I got to watch the 10th episode of the Man in the Arena, Tom Brady's show on ESPN. And, you know, when I watch something, especially something Tom Brady or football related, I like to put a pad and paper in front of me, or paper and pad, or pencil and pad. And I like to take notes because I like to, okay, what, and there's one word that Tom mentions throughout the entire first 20 minutes. And by the way, guys and girls, if you haven't seen it, the Man in the Arena on ESPN Plus, I highly suggest it. But Tom talks about continuity. And what I mean by continuity is that he talks about the fact that, you know, sometimes teams, when especially when they're as bad as the Bucs were, they start at 2-14 or 4-12, and then they got to work up to 8-8 or 500, and then you work to that winning record, and then you get to that wild card. And of course, the Bucs in 2020, you know, flip the script. They go from 7-9 to, you know, in Super Bowl 55 in 2020. So they kind of got there. They didn't have to work so much on that continuity. It didn't take them a progression of years, a 5, 6, 7. Although I would pose that Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles, and Byron Leftwich were already putting the pieces in place the year before. But now what you're seeing in retrospect now, of course, the Bucs losing the divisional round of the playoffs last season to the Rams, but now you're seeing a team that has already been to the mountaintop, already still has an established base camp, if you will, and that continuity now. So really, the Bucs are just going into their third season now with this group of guys that have tasted the championship. They kind of did it reverse, right? They got to the top, and now but I still see a team that's focused. I see you bring in the new blood, you bring in a few Logan Ryan, you bring in free agents, you bring in these guys that haven't had a taste of it yet, or maybe they've had a taste but not here in Tampa Bay, and now you have your draft picks. And I still get the vibe, I still get the feeling out of One Buck Place and here in Tampa Bay that this team, it's not like been there, done that. I've actually seen more of that with the Rams, hopefully this offseason, and I hope that the Rams are the ones that the Bucs beat in the playoffs next year, so we can get out to Super Bowl 57 there out in Arizona.
Honestly, the Rams are taking on the personality of their coach, and he's a punk. And
he's a punk.
That thing when he went after Bill Belichick over moving up and picking the player that they had rated at 100,
right?
That's something you say internally. You don't come out on TV.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just that's just punk.
He's an emotional guy, but, you know, I still remember Sean McVay when he was, you know, shagging footballs as a offensive quality assistant under John Gruden, you know, back in 1776. So,
you see a little bit of Gruden in him, though.
You do see a little bit of Gruden in him. Yes.
I hope his emails are cleaner. But
hey, everybody better do a neck up from the checkup there, because now, you know, I love that the NFL is going to actually step up with the investigation into the, you know, of course, when money's involved, all of a sudden everybody gets serious. But the Washington football team, they have that 1-year investigation, and they get an oral report with no written records, and, you know, everything's fine. But then, you know, you talk about Daniel Snyder may have been, you know, scraping a little money off the top with some of the revenues that should have went to the visiting teams there. And now all of a sudden it takes literally an act of Congress. But what do you think?
Sounds
Brian?
Like a Capone kind of thing, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, Matt, what do you think about, you know, Brian Flores? I don't think we're going to get an answer as to whether Tom Brady was actually on a boat in a marina with Stephen Ross when Brian Flores was supposed to go meet. I don't think we're going to get all kinds of juicy nuggets, but, you know, Brian Flores takes the NFL to court, and the NFL is pushing hard to get that into arbitration, which basically means we're not going to have our day in court. We're going to keep it behind closed doors and let the big boys and girls let the big boys and girls figure it out. And I would pose at the end of the day, you know, if you take into account antitrust exemption and some of the luxuries that these professional sports teams are afforded so these billionaires can continue to make their millions and billions, I think when you've got a situation like a Brian Flores lawsuit talking about, you know, possible issues with coach hiring and some of the nefarious activities with trying to tank for Joe Burrow or something, I want to see that day in court. And I don't care if you got to crack a few eggs. I'd like to taste some of that omelet.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's more, to me, that's more impressive of something I'd want it's more of an item that I'd watch as opposed to Johnny Depp and his girlfriend.
Oh my God. Yeah. Amber Heard. Are you kidding me?
That thing they stuck on Fox News there for a couple of days, and even Fox News couldn't keep it hot. They were like, "Oh, we can't watch this crap; it's garbage."
I kept getting breaks on my phone from Unilat. I'm like, "Oh, they're coming back. They're coming back from lunch." I'm like, "I don't care.
I don't care.
How did
Johnny
I even follow
Depp,
you?"
He was a millionaire, and he's lost all his money, and now he's trying to save face by putting somebody else in a ditch. I mean, it's Hollywood. Now,
why?
The NFL,
why are you bothering
with
me
their problem with Brian Flores and the Rooney Rule and all of that nonsense, and then this stuff with Brady, the story that Chris Sims got in his email that nobody can prove, and all the other junk that's been going on. I was kind of mentioning that to Keith in a chat on Messenger during the draft. The Shield's gotten a little bit dirty, and they used to be. The NFL could do no wrong, even with the Ray, was it Ray Rice?
Ray Rice with the video until that video surfaced. Yeah.
Well, until the video came out, they had put it away. And then the video came out, and they had to do something with it, and they handled it to a degree. And he's not been around since, and he's not even in the USFL or the CFL or anywhere.
Oh yeah, he's. Well,
he's
Matt,
gone.
Can I ask you something, Matt? Completely unrelated, because you know me, my thought process jumps all around.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the Miami basketball player, the kid that plays for the University of Miami Hurricane basketball team on Friday? Did you hear about this kid?
No, I don't follow basketball enough. What would happen?
Well, the name, image, and likeness now that, Congress passes the law that says these college kids can get their hustle on, and whatever you're worth, go ahead and work it. We won't even bother you. This kid basically was looking to go into the NBA this next year, and then he decided he didn't want to, and he's an integral part, if you will, or important piece of that Miami Hurricane basketball team. But he basically comes straight out and says, I'm going to go into the transfer portal unless I get $800,000 in my name, image, and likeness contract. So, now you go from in a 2-year period, you got name, image, and likeness, and the transfer portal now, which literally every day there's kids jumping in there now. And now you've actually got college basketball players that are going to start holding out if they don't get the right money. And it's like,
send them to Moscow with some CDB vapors in their luggage. That'll straighten their asses right up.
10 days in the slammer. But the thing is that I don't know if at the end of the day I don't know what's gonna have an effect as far as the intake or the product on the field. But I mean, at what point these players are gonna actually, and what's going on? It's probably been going on forever. Hey, I'll come play at your college if my dad can get a job. Do you remember
along these lines? Do you remember? This would be 20 years ago though, so I don't know if you were in Tampa then or not. But there was a kid in Brandon. His name was Tony Mack, and he set every record in Hillsborough County basketball. He was Michael Jordan in high school. Okay. And he was better than LeBron. He was as good as Michael, and he was supposed to go on to the world and just be all that. And what ended up happening to the kid, he was on the same graduating class as my brother. And my brother graduated with him. My brother went to some small school and got a couple of year degree. Tony Mack got into the NCAA, couldn't open a book, couldn't read, couldn't. Yeah. They couldn't get him anywhere. He got into the he got to the NBA. He couldn't read a playbook. He failed out. 2-3 years later, he got a tutor, got him up to where he could think again. Wow. Where he was supposed to be after he was a senior, and he'd already been skipped out. He got allowed to go to Georgia, I think it was, and pick up his college career. Couldn't do it. He didn't have the maturity. Because they coddled this kid from the time he was 3.5 feet tall, but he was in a league with two-year-olds. And he was awesome. He would fill a stadium, or the Brandon High School gymnasium would have standing room only when he played home games. Yeah, he went to college. Dwayne Shinsis was on the team with him.
Dwayne Shinsis, oh yeah, and God, that cat was big.
Yeah, he wasn't when I picked him up and threw him over a fence in nursery school. I remind him of that all the time. I got crazy one day and just lifted him and threw him over a fence. But then he got big, and I met him 10 years later, and I couldn't even begin to talk about it. But
big cat, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good kid. His father went to police academy with my mother.
Wow.
So anyway, long story short, Tony Mack got into the NBA twice and failed out, and it was because the public system failed him tremendously. Yes, sir. And he couldn't do anything. And that was a guy who was truly gifted, and he couldn't get anywhere. If he was in today, I don't know what would happen. If they were going to do likeness with him, they'd have to revert it down to high school, because the Brandon High School built a new gymnasium over him. Wow. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that he did. And when he traveled around to the different schools in the area to play, the attendance records would go through the roof. He scored 85 points in a game by himself. Something like that.
Stand up. I'm gonna stand up a minute because my leg's falling asleep. But
tell that lady to come around and bring me a black and tan. I'll take it. She doesn't have to do the shamrock.
Matt will have a black and tan, and go ahead and give me 2 Irish car bombs and chase it with a Jägermeister. Yeah, buddy. No, I got to keep it real because I've got Joshua Cole Allen from Pewter Report lined up for tomorrow morning.
Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and I figured, hey, we're gonna do a full draft wrap up show, and I always usually Sunday mornings are my a sojourn for the sports savvy soul, but I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and let's look at this. Let's look at all the picks the Bucs got in here, and also Josh gonna fill us in on those pertinent, like you said, those OTA days and the days we can look forward to. So I'll keep it. I'm only gonna go ahead, just make it the 2 Irish car bombs, skip the Jaeger, but. Yeah, I appreciate you having me in here. I just want to jump in here, and we thought we'd mix it up a little bit about the draft. I very, very satisfied with the way the draft went for the Bucs this year, and I think that again, it's going to take 2 or 3 years to see this, but I think we're going to see Joe Tryon-Shank. I think we're going to see Joe showing up this season. I think the Bucs
got to put on 30 or 40 pounds from what I heard last year.
Yes, sir, and that's what
he can do that.
I don't want to see him lose that because he's got that length. He's got that that length, and we can wrap around the corner. Yeah, tall. Kind of reminds you of a JPP, but JPP had more muscle. But it takes, like a Simeon Rice, it takes that length to go ahead and swim move and get up underneath your tackle, and then go ahead and reach in. I think that was one of the reasons last season with Joe was that because he didn't have that extra 20 or 30 pounds, he would still get upfield and still get the positioning on the tackle, but he could push him. He
beat his initial blocker, but then he'd be in bad position to catch a quarterback.
Because he didn't have the weight and he didn't have that, didn't have that size. I think you're going to see, and I saw him in that presser a couple of weeks ago, and he looks like he's putting a couple of LBs on, which is great, which is good stuff. Because as long as you don't damage the speed on that kid, you're in great shape.
No, if he could do it right, and like I said earlier, the Buccaneers, with all the training coaches they have and all the facility people, personnel, whatever, I don't think there's any other place in the league that you could go to and not get a better opportunity to improve yourself if you take what they're saying and do it.
Well, who else has a Maral Javadafar? We've got one of the best, her with her conditioning program, and Lori Locust
end up being a head of the athletic development committee.
I still think, Lori Locust on the defensive line as an assistant coach. I still think that she ends up being a full-on defensive line coach, if not a DC someday. She's a monster. I mean, she's a piece. And the players love her because with her, they know what they get, and that's one of the reasons. I'll work it back to the diversity that this Buccaneers team has had. And, we always say, oh, everything's coming up roses. I think, you could talk about the Super Bowl championship. You could talk about the, Tom Brady and the great, you talk about Mike Evans and the 8 seasons of all the great things for the Buccaneers. But at the end of the day, one of the most fulfilling from the soul has been the diversity on this team and the fact that Coach Arians, that's as much as the winning and everything else is. I think the legacy Coach Arians has is the fact that he's shown that, man, woman, black, white, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of you put the best person in a position to do that job, and the players, they're going to buy in because the players want to get better. So the diversity with this Buccaneers team is one of the things I always, of course the winning's the best. Of course being a champion, a Super Bowl champion is the best.
They're like that.
It's nice because, it speaks forward. It speaks volumes moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Coming from the era of Hugh Culverhouse, who ran the damn thing like a plantation, to where we are today, we've come so many millions of miles. It's just incredible. Yes, the draft was good. We're going to have a good time with preseason. We're going to have a good regular season, I think. If this is it for Brady, I hope that we can get that. He's still got that statistic. Every other year is his year. So he's
sir.
And if we can get that done.
He's due to beat the Saints in a regular season because he's 0 for 4 against the Saints in a regular season.
Well,
I
if we
know
can't
that
do it this year. We're not going to get it done. I mean,
let me tell you something. Did you see? Do you watch this fan controlled football crap? I say crap because I have about as much interest in watching this as I do anything. But Jameis Winston was playing tonight and he threw an interception to Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill returned it all 50 yards. Did you watch that fan controlled football? Oh, what's that? Oh, did he really? So Jameis, this gentleman here was telling me Jameis walked today, graduated from FSU. So that's solid that he went back and got that diploma, got
well, he needed to do something. He can't guarantee a check with the NFL.
Oh, man. I'm going to leave you on that one, brother. I tell you what, man.
I got to be honest with you. The guy had the opportunity, didn't do what I think was the right thing to do, which is make sure you could see 40 yards. I mean, that's key. It's like hunting with my eyes. I got to get a cataract removed. And right now, when I'm driving at night, only half of my vision is any good. You're at pot luck if you're in the car with me because it may or may not happen.
You got a cataract?
Yeah, I had one in my right eye 5 years ago. They took out, put a lens in, and I got 20/20 vision over here. And now this one's gone to hell. And I'm going to have that done here in a month or two.
I have a Ford Focus. But
a Focus. Oh, you good, man. You funny.
A double entendre, brother. Hey,
it
Matt,
wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
If you don't mind, I'll just remind everyone, look for me tomorrow morning on Cup of Ray. I'm going to wrap this whole draft thing up, and I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I appreciate you for having me, my friend.
I thank you for coming over because Teresa's out of pocket for a while.
Yeah, I hope Teresa's doing well. I hope she's doing well. I know she was going to have a little downtime. I spoke with her. She's going to be running my comments for one of my shows coming up here, and I know. But you did a great job tonight, my friend. And as always, Buck Wild here on Bucs Report. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, Mr. Ray Kennedy.
Wait, you want to do some comments? You want to do some comments?
There isn't anymore. I tried.
Oh, okay.
I think everybody's kind of tuckered out, and then I pissed people off when I was talking about Brett Suckup. I was riding on an edge.
Whoa, you talked about Ryan Suckup? What would you say about Ryan Suckup?
That he sucked it up. That's why we didn't win we didn't get past the Rams. And I'll say it till the day I die. He should have hit that field goal, and we would have been not tied, but winning. No need for overtime.
Let me tell you something. that Borregales is still on this team. Former Miami kicker, and he kept. They kept. Of course, teams were keeping 2 kickers because of COVID-19 and such. And I, Mr. Irrelevant. He was the very last draft pick when he comes out of college and catches on with the Kansas City Chiefs. But I've said that I think that the Bucs are, as much as I think they're going to give Kyle Trask a chance to take care, my friend. They're going to give Kyle Trask a chance to go ahead and take that number 2 spot from a Blaine Gabbert if it's possible. I will not be shocked if you see the Buccaneers giving Borregales a chance to assume the kicking duties with this Buccaneers squad, and it's not
this punter they picked up today's got kicking ability too.
Yes, I
read. I think that it was him that is he can kick off, which is good. Which is
what Bradley Pinion's been doing for Ryan Suckup the last 5 years or 4 years.
So why do you pay somebody a premium like Suckup? You pay him a premium and he can't kick off. I mean, that I don't get that either. But
he holds the Buccaneers record for season scoring. Took it from Martin Gramatica. The guy's a phenomenal talent. He was, but I think that when you're looking at the millions of dollars he's making, and you got a team like the Buccaneers, it's going to have to make. You got to make finite decisions to give yourself not only a stack, good roster, but when it comes to the end of the day with the salary cap and finances, it might be a toss up. But Borregales, there were quite remember last season, Matt, the big thing was when we had Borregales on our practice squad, and people were like, in the preseason, they're like, well, the Bucs might be able to get a draft pick for this kid. Well, it wasn't that crazy, right? It wasn't that crazy, but I still think that there's a chance that kid's could be kicking for the Buccaneers in 2022. Stay tuned. That's what the camp's going to be for. There's going to be a couple of positions up. It's not just the whole game.
Kickers are never running back. Kickers are never secure. They can flush them at any time, and they're replaceable for a couple of games, every other game. So yeah, I know you were real high on Suckup, but
I like the kid.
I think that he let us down in times when we desperately should have earned his check. And
there were a couple of times he didn't Matt Gay us. He didn't. Of course, Matt Gay now he looks like nails for the Rams. Of course, Matt
for this year.
Well, for
What's he
last
gonna
year,
do
yeah,
next
the
year?
boo. Well, yeah. I mean, he seems like he's gotten his. The kid couldn't make a kick. He could make it from 75 yards out, but he couldn't make
Exactly.
it from inside to 30 to save his butt. But
Yeah.
hey, brother, we'll
He
save
couldn't.
it for another time.
There you go. Well, Ray, it's been fun. I'm done. I think we've had enough tonight.
I'm
and
done
I
too, my
appreciate you
friend.
coming on. I hope you
Always a
have a good
pleasure.
time with your show tomorrow morning. I probably won't be up by the time you come on, but if I catch it, I catch it. And I hope you have a good weekend with that. And say hi to Joshua for me. I missed him this week, to be honest with you. He kind of trumped everything last year when he was standing outside the cannons, calling out the draft before we were supposed to have it.
Wasn't that Aces? That was Aces, my friend.
That was crazy. And yeah. So
yeah, I'll get him on there. I'll do a special hi for him, my friend, and we'll talk to you later, my friend.
All right. And all you guys out there on Buck Wild Land, we're going to call this a night as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for Ray Kennedy stopping in. And all the people who stopped in to watch the show, I appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a good night. We'll be back next Saturday here at the Buck Wild, 9 o'clock Eastern time on Bucs Report. And we'll cover whatever we can cover from next week's news and see what we come up with maybe some unsigned free agents joining camp and whatever else is getting ready to happen. It's coming close to the point where we actually got things to talk about, and that's going to be the fun part. We're going to be at a point here very soon where football is relevant again, and not because it's a spring league, but because it's a real league getting ready to get going, and we'll have more information and more things to discuss. And I think that's what we've all been waiting for. So for all you guys out there that enjoyed the draft this week, I was with you. 3 days of that is over with. Get some sleep, pay your bar tab, and get started next week for something new. And until then, I want to put a shout out to Teresa Baxter. I hope she gets to feeling better. We do miss her here, and I hope she can come back soon. And all you guys that came in to see the show tonight, I appreciate your watching. Share, like, tell everybody you know, and get some more folks in here to join the party. We really appreciate it. You guys have a good night. Good night from Oklahoma City, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday evening.